Got that. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
A big welcome to you all, to the Health and Human Services Committee. And on this first day of hearings in the new year for our committee, and we're pleased to be here. We trying to get adjusted back to everything. I think we'll be there, but I'm going to let the committee members introduce themselves first. We're going to start over to my left with Representative Lemelin.
Throwing me a
I
curveball.
know, I was going to say, woo.
Hi, I'm Michael Lemlin. I represent House District 53, Chelsea, Randolph, Pittston, and Dresden.
Happy New Year, everybody. I'm Representative Dan Shigori. I represent House District 55, the communities of Hollowell, Manchester, and West Gardner.
Good afternoon. My name is Julie McCabe. I represent District 93, part of Lewiston.
Sorry, a little off kilter here. I'm Representative Annie Graham. I serve the people of North Yarmouth and Majority of Gray, House District 105, and it's beautiful outside.
I'm Representative Lucian Daigle. I represent House District 1, the northernmost part of Maine, where it's wonderful and white.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Zager. Honored to represent District 116, which is part of Portland.
Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Marianne Moore, and I represent Senate District 6, which is all of Washington County, along with 16 communities in eastern Hancock County, beautiful down east Maine.
Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Representative Michelle Meyer, serving Southern Maine's District 150, which is all of Elliott, where I live, and parts of Kittery and South Berwick. And I am honored to serve as this committee's House Chair.
And I'm Senator Henry Ingwerson, representing Senate District 32. That's Arundel, Dayton, Hollis, Lyman, and Biddeford. And I think I got them all. And I do, before I start talking a little bit about the hearings, I do want to introduce our analyst, Anna, who's back with us, and our new clerk, Sophie Doobie. Welcome, Sophie. And so we're going to be having some public hearings today. And the purpose of this hearing this afternoon is to invite testimony from members of the public regarding proposed legislation before this committee. The following bill is scheduled for a public hearing. It's the only one today. It's LD 555, an act to create a separate Department of Child and Family Services. The committee will hear testimony from people present and on Zoom who wish to speak for, against, or neither for nor against the bills being heard today. With the leave of the chair, committee members may ask clarifying questions of the persons testifying today. The public hearing is just that. It's for the public. The committee will have time for deliberation and debate at the work session that will be scheduled in the next few weeks. Whether you testify or not, you can submit written testimony to the committee. Please be mindful that testimony is public and available to all once it's presented. This hearing is live streamed and there is a recording of the meeting. Please, if you would, silence all your electronic devices. If you are on Zoom, be sure we are able to identify you when we are ready to take testimony from those attending virtually. If you're having any technical difficulties, please call our clerk, Sophie, at 207-287-1317. Some of our committee members serve on other committees, but they won't be going anywhere today because we're the only one, I believe. Or there may be another one. Yeah. You may also see committee members eating and drinking at the Horseshoe. The public is not permitted to eat and drink in the committee room.
They can have water.
Or you may have water. Thank you. Let's see. We'll take testimony from people in the room and on Zoom in the following order: those in support of the bill, those opposed, and those neither for nor against. The committee will give members of the public priority when taking testimony. Only the bill sponsor and co-sponsors will be recognized before the public is recognized. We do run a 3-minute clock here on testimony. You will see the clock right here in the front of the Horseshoe. As you are approaching the 3-minute point, please wrap up your testimony. If you have prepared testimony, please provide 20 copies to our clerk. You may leave those copies at the end of the Horseshoe to my left. When you come, please sign in at the podium, and we thank you all so much for joining us today. Having said that, we will now hear LD 555, an act to create a separate Department of Child and Family Services, presented by the bill's sponsor, Senator Timberlake of Androscoggin.
Thank you, Anna. Anna. Yep. Thank you.
Don't turn it on when I speak,
No, I'm not.
because I cannot do it in 3
You
minutes.
don't have to.
You don't have to. Right.
All right. I gotta dig out glasses because I'm getting older and for some reason the vision is not as good as it used to be. Good afternoon, everybody, and Happy New Year to everybody. And I guess it's an honor to be the first one to present a bill in the new year, so I really do thank you. LD 555, an act to create a separate department for the Child and Family Services Committee on the Health and Human Services. Senator Ingersoll, Representative Meyer, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee of Health and Human Services. I am Jeff Timberlake. I represent Senate District 17, which includes the towns of Greene, Leeds, Lisbon, Livermore Falls, Sabattus, Turner, Fayette, Litchfield, and Wales. It is an honor to be standing before you today to present LD 555, an act to create separate departments of the Child and Family Services. I'd like to start with a list of names. Logan Ma, Kendall Chick, Marissa Kennedy, Jaden Harden, Maddox Williams, Haley Gordon, Silas Melvin, Braxton Smith, Jasper Smith. These names were Maine's next generation of children, most of whom had involvement with the Department of Health and Human Services and its Office of Child and Family Services. These are the names of Maine's children who reportedly died at the hands of their parents. They and thousands of Maine children currently involved with the Office of Child and Family Services are why I and my co-sponsors of this bill are here today. The direction of Maine's agency in charge of child welfare needs a serious reset because the failure we have is serious and deadly results. This legislation is not new to this committee by any means, or the legislature. I submitted substantially similar legislation last session when it passed the Senate, but was ultimately tabled in the other body and died at the conclusion of the 131st legislature. I am bringing this bill forward again because of the underlying problems it seeks to address having not gone away, and the consequences of inaction continue to be devastating. The subject before you today has been examined for years through prior legislation, audits, extensive work by the Government Oversight Committee and our Office of Program Evaluation and Government Accountability. The failures of the Office of the Child and Family Services, its staff and leadership, and the leadership of this DHHF itself are not isolated or recent. They are repeated, systemic, and well documented. Having spent years on the Government Oversight Committee, I can say without hesitation that few issues have consumed more time and resources and raised serious concerns among its members than the shortcomings within one division of DHHS. Regardless of where members may land on the details of reform, it should be clear to everyone that maintaining the status quo is no longer acceptable. The problem within the office ranged from chronic delays, excessive caseload, on most serious and heartbreaking outcomes imaginable. Children have slipped through the cracks, and some have lost their lives. While the state was involved just 1 week ago in a 1-year-old, Eleanor McLaughlin, Another name to be added to this sad list was found dead in Milford while living in a home alongside her siblings with no heat, no running water in the middle of a Maine winter. DHHS was directly involved in this case. That reality should stop every one of us cold in our tracks. It is simply unacceptable at this time. As horrific as this case is, it's not unique. In 2021, 34 died with the Office of Child and Family Services involvement. In 2022, that number was 32. Last year, the third highest year of a dismal record, another 31 died. In fact, more children have died in the past 5 years than in the previous 13 years combined. That should be eye-opening in its own right. Structure, leadership, and support. They need to do their jobs well. The late Bill Diamond, a former Secretary of State, our colleague, a state senator, worked tirelessly to bring attention to these issues, both through prior legislation and his work with the Walk a Mile in Their Shoes. His advocacy helped shine a light on the failures many would rather ignore. I believe passing this legislation, his legislation, would honor the work and move the state in a direction he fought for. I'm proud to say, even here today, his wife Jane Diamond is sitting in the audience because the passion hasn't left. The passion hasn't left me either. Even within the DHHS here is the acknowledgement that the current structure is not working and a meaningful change is needed. We're not reinventing the wheel here, folks. Indiana, New Jersey, Tennessee, Georgia, Wisconsin have all successfully implemented a separation department indicated exclusively to children, youth, and families. Washington State did it in 2019. And just last year alone, the state of Minnesota was the latest state to join the efforts of elevating the children and family issues to a cabinet-level department. There are reasons for doing the reasons for doing so are common among all the states that have chosen this path. One, it was always to change the culture, transparency, and accountability for these critical functions. Two, it was a way to amplify resources and promote the importance of children and the families. Three, it served the purpose to consolidate services and implement stronger leadership through a gubernatorial cabinet position. Our efforts to reform and the delivery services to the children and the families shouldn't stop here, there. We need family court reforms, the development of the ombudsman for foster families to investigate retaliation, and other auditor or inspector general answerable to the legislature, not the executive branch, to ensure that the accountability and transparency. I will close by emphasizing the opportunity before us. This bill represents a chance for a significant bipartisan accomplishment, focused on an issue that should rise above politics. At a time when division seems to be growing deeper at every level of our government, protecting the safety and the well-being of the vulnerable children should be common ground for all of us. If you look along with what I passed out today, as I deviate here, the question I always get asked is, how do we do it? And it could cost $4 million. Number one, $4 million in a $12.3 billion budget is not much, and I don't think it would cost that, unless it's going to cost us $4 million to change the name on the stationery. But I've submitted a roadmap because every one of you ask how we do it. Now, I could sit here and read the roadmap to you piece by piece, and if you read it, it's very, very intriguing because it takes you step by step of what we need to do to implement this program. Folks, I'm here before you for a love and a passion. This isn't a political reason that I'm here. I'm here because this is important and near and dear to my heart. And I hope you support my bill. And from there, I leave it up to you. I'm willing to answer any questions. And I thank you very, very much for giving me the time to present this bill. And I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Timberlake, bringing that bill before us.
Oh, just one quick second.
Yep.
And another reason is here, if you haven't seen the current ombudsman's report that's come out, it's still not giving us a raving review. 76 cases they reviewed, 36 of them they found serious problems with. It's better than it has been in the past, but we're a long ways from where we need to be. And I think this roadmap is the path we need to take to get to where we need to be today. Thank you all.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Senator Timberlake? Seeing none, are there any other co-sponsors who would like to testify on this bill? Seeing none?
Senator
Oh.
Baldacci.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Senator Baldacci. Sorry, I didn't see you up there. Now I do.
I didn't want to interrupt your proceedings until it was time, but I wish to speak if that's okay, Mr. Chairman.
Go right ahead, Joe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Senator Ingerson, Representative Meyer, respective chairs of HHS and the Legislative Committee of Health and Human Services. It's a pleasure to appear in front of you on this bill. My name is Joseph Baldacci. I represent the city of Bangor and the town of Hermon in Senate District 9. I have been a regular supporter and co-sponsor of this legislation in prior sessions of the legislature. And I want to emphasize at first that this is not a partisan issue. This must not be a partisan issue. This is a human issue, an issue affecting our kids, our families, and how we want to lead our lives as a state. It is not about party politics, and it can't be. So I want to start, first of all, and I know I've shared this previously with the committee, but the November 2024 report from the federal government, which has been written about, I don't know if I'm not sure how much attention has been given, but the auditor, the federal inspector general, issued a lengthy report in November of 2024 during the last administration that the main protection officials had failed to complete requirements in 94% of abuse or neglect investigations. This was well written up in the Portland paper in November 14th, 2024. And I can share the article, but it's extensive recapping of the history of failures and lack of oversight and lack of process. I think and these are from the Federal Inspector General Office in review of Maine's system. It was prompted, the reason that Maine became the first state to be audited by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Inspector General was because the ombudsman from Maine, fortunately, had the determination, the courage to point out to them the numerous deficiencies with our state agency. And those continue to today. And this is not about personalities. This is about process, procedure, structure, and providing sufficient focus so that we can deal with this problem. I know it's been said that, and I recall greatly when John, my brother, was governor, and this happened because I've been involved in child protection issues for decades. But this was done 20 years ago, and I'm pretty sure anything that was done 20 years ago should always be revisited at some point. And the time for revisiting is now. So there are certain symptoms to our child and family services emergency that we have. And I call it an emergency because children's lives and families are on the line here and not some sort of abstract policy discussion. Symptoms that we see often, if not every day, include multiple reviews at both the state and federal level that continue to reveal insufficient investigations failure to recognize risk, poor safety plan monitoring, inadequate neglect identification. Additional symptoms we see regularly are overwhelmed workforce, poor oversight, lack of coordination of services. And I am supporting this bill, and I've supported numerous other reforms, and numerous other reforms need to happen. I think, as Senator Timberlake talked about, there's not one answer. There's probably 100 different small answers, but put together can help significantly change the environment that we have. But I do believe creating a separate department will give it the issue elevated priority, increased accountability, improve focus. It is more likely, in my opinion, to lead to better management and more likely to lead to the improvement of best practices by the department. I think it's clear that the people of Maine want change and want reform. And I am hopeful that this committee will respond to that. But this is an important enough change that will bring focus and elevated priority that will help in our efforts as a legislature to protect children and to protect families. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator Baldacci. Do we have any questions for the senator? Yes, Senator Moore.
Senator Baldacci, will you be submitting your comments in writing?
I will be submitting written testimony probably within the next few days.
Excellent. Will you also please include a copy of that article? That'd be great.
Oh, sure, I will. Thank you, Senator Moore.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's always a pleasure to see everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I see doesn't look like there's any legislators here to testify in favor of the bill. Sponsors, I mean. We'll now take testimony from the general public in favor of this bill. And I don't think we have a sign-up sheet, do we?
No, but this,
Okay, is she Zoomed?
First. No, I think she's here.
Okay, so there's someone named Victoria Vose who would like to go early. You have to head out, so come on, right?
You can just.
Come right up.
Yep, you can come up and sign.
Thank you,
up.
Victoria.
I need to bring this down. Okay. Good afternoon. I am Victoria Vose, a resident of Warren, and I express my full support for LD 555, sponsored by Senator Jeff Timberlake. This proposed legislation seeks to establish an independent Department of Child and Family Services, creating a new cabinet-level department by transferring Child and Family Services functions from the current Department of Health and Human Services. I am gravely concerned that existing legislation designed to safeguard Maine's most vulnerable children has not been revised to prevent child fatalities. The system presently managed by the Office of Family and Child Services has repeatedly demonstrated its inadequacy. It is unequivocally clear that systemic reform is imperative. My 3-year-old grandson, Maddox Williams, tragically passed away on June 20th, 2021. A loss I attribute in part to departmental negligence. Maddox would have been celebrating his 8th birthday with his family this Friday. Instead, I am here today to advocate for the passage of this bipartisan bill, ensuring that my grandson's death is not in vain. Death serves as a catalyst for meaningful change, and his death won't be in vain. This perspective is informed by my family's direct experience with the department. I urge you to vote in favor of LD 555, and Maddox matters. Maine children matter. Thank you.
Thank you for coming before us today. I don't know if you may have some questions. Hold on. Any questions for Victoria? Seeing none. Thank you. come right up if someone else would like to testify.
Hi, thank
Hi.
you for allowing us to be here today on such an occasion. It's not anything when we think of what's happening in the news and stuff
Could you,
like that.
could you identify yourself and sign
Sorry.
in? It's
Yeah,
really
oh,
important.
so-
Go ahead and sign
sign
yourself.
in?
Take a second, sign yourself in.
Yes, all those right there. Yeah, they're not stapled together. I'm sorry, there's 3 pages for. Thank you. All right, I'm signed in. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Just let us know who you are and
I'm gonna
where you're
pull this up
from.
here so I can actually read it. My name is Eric Lavasser. I'm a resident of the town of Benton, and I'm here in support of the bill, LD 555. In the past 6 years of my life, involvement in my own personal life with DHHS and the things that I've seen, having friends like Victoria and losing Maddox. Sorry. It's hard to hear
Yep.
people, but these are our main families, and it's not a political separation. It's really just main families. We need to fight for main families. Now I'll try to catch my breath. I'm sorry about that. But I want to start by saying that LD 555 is a meaningful step in the right direction. And I appreciate the sponsors like Timberlake, Baldacci. I believe Hickman was also on there. I could be incorrect. But I believe all those people just saw the intent of the bill. I also believe at the same time it's important to be honest about the limits and structure of separation alone. Even Jeff Timberlake, Senator Timberlake, excuse me, has said the same thing. The structure itself does not guarantee accountability. If the new structure in the department still investigates itself and controls its own information flow, public trust remains fragile. And the public trust is the heart of why we're here. The fatality data has increased and the funding has increased as well. But it's not just a resource problem. It is a governance and acceptability problem. That's where Maine can go further. In addition to structure, separation Maine needs independent oversight that exists outside the child welfare agency entirely. And as I have submitted in my testimony, it's a structure of how this could actually be done. And it's just a suggestion. It's not asking you to buy into all of it, but it's a structure of how easily this can be done on a county level. And then to have a commissioner, I believe as Senator Timberlake has asked for, but have a commissioner of this oversight committee with 9 people that are part of the oversight committee in every single county. This would allow us the opportunity for people to go. Right now, if we have an issue with the agency, we have to go before the oversight committee. We need a representative or a senator, and we know that you guys are all really busy, to go before and bring our case. But this would allow us 3 appointed people, 2 elected people, and 2 people that are actually elected by their peers to represent us, and then 1 appointed by the judicial branch and 1 appointed by the Attorney General's office, giving full, representation to each county. It'd be 9 people. It's not a lot. It does come with a budget, and from the best I can do, I'm a pretty simple guy. I think to have all of that, we are looking at, upwards of $3 million to have that kind of committee and oversight. However, if we have this kind of agency that can work with our people and do everything, and I see my timer's getting short, but if we have this
Yeah.
kind of agency, I just ask you to look it over. I think that there's some good solid stuff there. And if there's any questions you guys might have based upon that or what I've said here today, then please feel free to ask.
I just have one quick question for you. This document you gave us, is this connected to this bill, this particular bill before
Yes.
us? And it suggested amendment to it or add-on? Or-
It's a suggested add-on,
Okay.
and I would like you guys to at least consider aspects of it. It's something that I've worked 2 years on, and it's changed a lot. And it's because as I learned more laws and stuff like that, that I've had to change it. And then as I've seen other problems within the system, I think I've had to make adjustments.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you all for your time.
Testimony in favor.
I'm a slow rider. I apologize. Okay, and I wrote mine down. I also have I struggle to stay on point, so whenever you're ready, I'm good to go.
You go ahead.
All right. Thank you, everyone. It is an honor to be here. My name is Ryan Michaels, and I'm a father. I live just miles from my children. There is no safety concern. There has never been one. And yet I have not seen my sons in nearly 2 years. Not because I failed them, not because I broke the law, not because I was found unfit, but because I asked for help. And the system that exists to protect children protected itself instead. I am standing in front of you today as living proof of what happens when records are falsified, procedures are ignored, and misconduct is covered rather than corrected. This is not theoretical for me. It's ongoing, and it's why I'm here, and it's why I will continue to be here. Since learning about, say, the Government Oversight Committee, I have attended every meeting, and I will attend every single month for as long as it takes because public service is not optional, and accountability does not expire. I am not here because I want to relive this pain. I want to turn this pain to purpose. I am here because until the system changes, I remain a father without children. Through no fault of my own, but through institutional efforts to avoid accountability at the expense of my son's childhood. Government oversight has already confirmed what families like mine have been saying for years. Like mentioned before, in 94% of reviewed cases, DHHS failed to follow its own procedures, laws, and policies. That number represents children separated unnecessarily, parents silenced without due process, and families permanently altered by errors that were never corrected. Reform from within is not enough, because the current structure forces conflicting priorities under one roof: child protection, legal defense, liability management, and public image. When those priorities collide, families lose. I am done being a childless father because the truth is inconvenient. My children are the ones paying the highest price for this failure, and they are why I will not stop showing up, speaking the truth, and demanding transparency. Because transparency leads to accountability, and accountability is the only path that prevents future families from suffering what mine has endured. I cannot undo what has already been taken from my sons, from me. But if my testimony is acknowledged honestly, then what happened to my family should never be allowed to happen again. LD 555 matters because it makes that possible. I urge you to act, not later, not symbolically, but now, because the evidence is not abstract, and it is standing right in front of you speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan, for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none. Further testimony and support.
Good afternoon, folks.
Thank you. Go right ahead.
What I handed out today was definition of psychosemia.
Could I have you just introduce who you are?
I'm sorry, my name is
That's
Joseph
okay.
Annaloro. I'm a founding member and also a victim of Families Are Forever Reform DHS CPS. We're a support group on Facebook. We started out with a handful of people. We've now got over 1,000 people in this group with evidence against police, judges, DHS workers, all working together, colluding. I've made everything public, and it's been taken off of Facebook. I've exposed Skowhegan as one of the highest areas in the state of Maine constantly for taking children and placing them in state custody. And when you look at the money trail, courts, judges, there's all contracts, there's money that's being wasted. My daughter went through 4 lawyers in her case. Not one of them did what she wanted, presented evidence she needed to. My 5-year-old granddaughter was molested and taught how to tongue kiss. This was never brought up in court. It was buried. And my daughter was told the visit supervisor doesn't work here anymore and we don't know how to get hold of her. All the visit supervisors throughout the whole process couldn't understand why she doesn't have her children yet. Excuse me. It's been 4 years since I've been able to see my grandchildren. The state ran their case almost 3 years past the legal limit. And when they couldn't catch her or bust her or whatever you want to call it, when my daughter disproved everything they said, for the next 3 years, it was, well, what about this what if? What about this maybe? I myself have been slandered to the hilt, run through the mill. My reputation is ruined because of exposing all this. But if any of you want to sit and take the time, I can show you police all working together in coordination because of the funds that it brings. They take money from the Social Security Fund and then disperse it through the state and local levels of the foster care system. My grandson has been groomed by the foster parent in Winthrop. We have clear evidence of this. My granddaughter went months without her ethnic hair being taken care of, to the point where she had to sit in a salon chair for 6 hours to fix it before she could come to a visit. My granddaughter wasn't medicated before the state took her. They get more money for her medicated. She needs her mother, not medications. We need this group and this bill to pass. This right here is an order keeping me out of any DHHS building in the state of Maine. I've never caused a scene, never been arrested, never been brought out. I've exposed DHS workers violating rights, harming children, and in the end, it's all done for profit and a paycheck. Psychosemia, you are paid to lie. I see this, my time is up.
Thank you. Thank you for paying attention to the time limits. Very helpful for us.
We'd appreciate your
Appreciate your testimony.
efforts in this matter, please.
Thank you, Joseph. Further testimony and support.
Good afternoon. I'm ready. My name is Brandon Pelletier. I'm a resident of Cornish. I'm a father of a 28-month-year-old little girl. I am also a victim of the department. I grew up in the state custody. I was in 36 placements. I have my little girl currently in the custody of the department. She's residing at a foster home in Cornish, where the department has allowed a registered sex offender to live on the property, which is the son of the foster parents. There has been 2 sexual assault allegations within the home. Several reports made, Maine State Police involved, the DA for several months. I've been stonewalled. I've been told that there's an active investigation going, but there's still 12 children residing on that property. Nothing has been done. There needs to be reform. I support the bill, LD 555. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon, for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none. Further testimony and support.
Good morning. I'm Ken Chinquette. I reside in Wyndham, and I'm actually I'm here in support of the bill. I was one of the first supporters of Walk a Mile in Their Shoes, supporting Bill Diamond, pretty much out of the gate with trying to get some fundraising efforts. I'm very fortunate to have a restaurant in Wyndham that I think some of the people in this room and many of the sponsors have visited to help raise money for this more than worthwhile cause. Obviously, Bill is gone, and we all mourn his loss, but his mission can't stop. And quite frankly, this bill is taking way too long to get done. I know many of the people in this room are not the people that are holding the bill up, and that we have other challenges. At this point, I would say that something needs to be done. In 2001, we lost Logan Mars, and it was terrible, and that's when Bill started his mission. It has been 25 years. And the excuse that we have as we come up on our 150th child that we've lost since that time is that the department's working on it. They're making changes. That's no good. The department is the problem, is the challenge. We need to take this office out of the department and put it in the governor's office, just like Senator Timberlake. This is a bipartisan issue. There are many great men and women that have supported this legislation as sponsors. For the life of me, I can't figure out why this hasn't passed already. This is not political. This is not right versus left. This is not policy. This is good versus evil. These are evil people that are committing these atrocities to children. And anybody that is stonewalling it has taken the side of child abusers over the victims that they've abused. And quite frankly, it is quite disappointing to see. I'm sure many of the people in this room are not the issue, but whoever is the issue needs to cut it out, and we need to get this done. Bill worked for 25 years. It's not going to solve itself. Do we need another 150 children lost before we do something about this? It's out of control. We need to band together one time as Mainers and do the right thing. Just do the right thing. I don't care which way you voted in the past. And again, I'm not necessarily speaking to the people in this room. It's time to do the right thing. You have two choices, and they're very simple. Either you can vote to pass this legislation to try to curtail this problem that we have that's been plaguing our state for 25 plus years, or you can vote for more of the status quo. The status quo will not fix itself. Your vote is very simple. You either vote with the victims of child abuse, or you vote for the abusers of those children. Vote to pass this bill, and let's get this done now on an emergency basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none. Further testimony and support.
My name is Gary Blair. I'm from Lisbon, Maine, and I'm currently a licensed foster care parent for the state of Maine, and I have been for approximately 10 years. I come before you in support of LD 555. The reason for my decision to support separation is based on many personal negative experiences with supervision, investigating OCFS personnel that are tied to an out-of-control bureaucratic, entrenched culture. And that does not leave room for common sense when evaluating almost anything having to do with adult caregivers, foster care children, especially when it comes to human traumas, both past and present, to both parties. On one side, the priorities are for human-based requirements of safety and well-being, and on the bureaucracy side, the priority is for compliance with federal mandates and maintaining grants. My experience has been to see a child under my care be taken and to be placed in an environment that satisfies a federal mandate for unification, but to have that same child come back to me after having physically been assaulted again and traumatized by supposedly new and reunification qualified family. Common sense is not allowed to be an option in the bureaucracy priority to check the mandate boxes. Thus, the safety and well-being of a child becomes secondary, regardless of what I say. The bureaucratic culture that is the operational nature within DAHS is not to be questioned in any way. Because they know better than anybody. And if you do have a grave concerns towards the decisions you have the pleasure of being retaliated against by an out-of-control bureaucracy that does not accept common sense. This is only one of the issues that OCFS has because of misplaced priority under out of control, with no transparency allowed bureaucracy known as DAHS. I have many other personal experiences I could share, but 3 minutes is not even close enough to be able to share them with you. But I would like to end with this. I hope that this bill to separate is not tabled again. The 2021 Diamond Bill to separate and last year's Timberlake's bill to separate OCFS from DAHS was ultimately not only unfair to the Senate legislators who passed both bills in a bipartisan majority, which says quite a lot about the importance of those bills, considering the climate of decorum between the parties being as it is. But those bills being Paley was grossly unfair to the people of Maine. So regardless of how you feel about the bill, I ask you to not stand in the way again and to allow for debate and a vote on the people's house floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none. Further testimony and support.
I was signed up originally to testify via Zoom, so my testimony has been submitted. I don't know if it's copied already, but I did not bring a copy.
Okay. We'll find it if it's been submitted.
Thank you. I was able to get here and I didn't think I was going to, so.
Oh, it's on there.
Yeah.
It's in your folder. Oh,
Perfect.
over here. Over here.
Oh, yeah.
In support. Okay, I'll ask.
Am I good to start?
Yeah.
Okay. Honorable members of the Health and Human Services Committee, my name is Melanie Blair. I'm a foster adoptive parent from District 3, Lisbon, and I'm here to testify in favor of LD 555. The current model of OCFS, being part of the largest bureaucracy, is failing to protect Maine's children at exponential rates. According to the Child Fatality Data website, more children have died that have had a history with DHHS of abuse and neglect in the last 5 years than the previous 12, as I think you've heard already from Senator Timberlake. This raises serious questions as to the effectiveness of the current structure. Within the last year, the new director rolled out a 5-year plan to put forth changes that would improve outcomes. While I do currently see some improvements, we are far from a true resolution, as we can clearly see from the continued deaths. At the current death rate of 30+ children each year, we are looking at a potential of 150 more. That is unacceptable. This plan alone is not enough. The benefits of separation that are currently being implemented by 10 other states that I've found, there could be more, this is my findings, a focused expertise that can ensure specialized training in child welfare, improving the quality of services provided to families, tailored programs to address the specific demographic needs of the population, making interventions more effective, access to critical specialized services that will help keep children safe, resource allocation that allows resources to be more effectively allocated to the family needs, crisis prevention and intervention that can implement proactive strategies,
streamline services that would be easier to monitor and evaluate the performance of child welfare services, which can lead to greater accountability and improved outcomes. Improved transparency will build trust with the members of the community. Collaborative efforts with other agencies that support children and families. A separate agency will also raise public awareness and advocacy about child welfare issues that can advocate for policy change and engage the community in prevention efforts and support. As I think Senator Baldacci said, 20 years is a long time not to have change. And I'm sure you all would agree that we have definitely changed as a society in 20 years, and I think it's about time this does as well. To conclude, I would ask you to vote in favor of LD 555 because creating a separate Child and Family Services will create a more effective, transparent, and accountable system that prioritizes child safety and well-being.
Thank you, Melanie, for your testimony. Do we have any questions? Seeing none. Any further testimony in support in the room? Come on up.
This one I'm done.
Say that again. I didn't hear
You
you.
guys can have this when I'm done.
Okay.
Hi, so my name is Miranda Ham and I actually reside in Heartland. I grew up in Brewer my whole life. So I don't think I'll get through all of this, but that's why you guys can have this so that you can look over it when I'm finished. So I as well have been a victim of CPS, as well as my children. So to whom it may concern, I am bringing it forward for my concerns. I know that everywhere we go, there's good and bad people everywhere. Not every, it's just the way it is. But for CPS to take children from a mother simply for taking their daughter by their arm and placing them on the couch to expect them to behave appropriately is completely and utterly not even justifiable. To have multiple workers, different workers come into a home for 11 months, almost a year, and always say, we have no concerns, none at all. Even the day that I lost my kids, that same day, the worker, Sophie Russell, she works for the Bangor CPS office in Bangor. She came to my home that morning and it was back in April 25th of 2023. And when a worker says to you that they have no concerns, none at all, and your attorney's working on a parental rights and responsibility for your kids and they'll be closing your case, for a worker to come back that same day taking your children away just for taking your daughter by her arm and placing her on the couch is unjustifiable. It's not like that is honestly probably like one of the best ways that you can actually parent your child. Like, you don't hit your kids, you don't do things like that. No, you take your kid and you just expect them to behave appropriately. That's parenting, which you're obviously not allowed to do. For CPS to put kids in a foster home where they know somebody has a protection from abuse on them because they have already done things, for my baby to be taken away at almost a year old, he would have been a year old when this happened, to have him be put in a foster home where he was punched in the face, and I became upset and concerned to have my visits taken away for trying to protect my kids is also not acceptable. And I knew I wouldn't get through any of this,
Okay.
but
Thank
that's
you.
why I want you guys to have this so that you can read over everything that's in here.
Thank
So
you.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Did you
It
sign
takes-
in? Did you sign in?
this should be signed.
Okay.
My name is
Good.
at the bottom and I do have some dates on here. I put my date of birth and there are some things on here, but this is.
That's great. Thank you.
I do honestly, and I will say that, I still have pictures and everything of my son from that day. But yes, there was a lot and I'm an open book. I'm honest and we all need to stand together to make a change. So thank you.
for your
I
testimony.
appreciate you all. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Would you like to have this or would you like me to make copies?
Yeah, go ahead. Make copies of that. Any further testimony in the room in support of this legislation? We do have some testimony on Zoom. I'm going to call you. First, we have Jamie Duncan. And while we're waiting for Jamie, the second one in line will be Jennifer Navarro. So just, I think the clerk will let you in.
Just one.
Oh, just Caitlin is the only one? Oh, okay. I guess the other three have decided not to testify or aren't here, so we're gonna see if we can get Kathleen Cassidy. I see you.
I see you as well, sir.
Okay, you can start anytime, Kathleen.
I appreciate that very much. I do want to just warn you all, I'm getting over a very bad cold, so I probably sound like I'm talking through a filter or something. My name is Kathleen Cassidy. I live in Winslow. And in terms of the Department of Health and Human Services, I've sat on every side of the table. And I have a lot of concerns about the way the department is run, and specifically the Office of Child and Family Services. I support this bill going forward, but my hope is that the way it's written right now, it's simply the structure of the bill, and it's a way to set the foundation to move forward and make real changes for the children in the state of Maine. But not just the children, the families of those children, the parents, the grandparents, the siblings, everyone that is touched by the Department of Health and Human Services, and specifically the Office of Child and Family Services, deserves to be heard, deserves to be understood, and deserves to know what's going on. I want to read a very quick paragraph from a document I think most of you are familiar with. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce those rights, it is not only the right, but it is the obligation of those that are being injured to step up and take action. That's from the Declaration of Independence, which I'm presuming most of you already knew that. The other quote that I'd like to share with the organization is U.S. Senator Hiram Johnson in 1917, at the beginning of the World War I, stated, "The first casualty when war starts is truth." I hate the concept of the idea that the Department of Health and Human Services and the people that rely on their department for assistance and support, really we are at war at this point. Rather than taking responsibility for their actions and saying and telling us why they aren't doing their jobs, they're telling us why they can't do their jobs. They're telling us that they don't have enough support. They're telling us they don't have enough funding. They're telling us they don't have enough people. All of those things are real because I've worked on both sides of the table. But at the end of the day, what needs to be focused on is the rights of the children and protecting the children and the rights of the families. I heard one person talk about due process. I've been in meetings with the HHS and parents, and they don't know why they're there. They've just been asked to come to a meeting. They have no idea what's going on. I've been in meetings with DHHS caseworkers from different districts and different counties, and I've said, well, what's your SOP for this? Oh, we do it differently in every office. There needs to be consistency. There needs to be a focus on the needs for the family and the children. And the department needs to stop hiding behind its bureaucracy, hiding behind its procedures and policies, because frankly, they don't work. And they need to stop making the people in the state of Maine and the families and parents afraid to come forward.
Thank you, Kathleen. Do we have any questions? Seeing none. I don't see any further testimony online in support. Okay. I'll take testimony at the present time for anybody in the room in opposition to this legislation. Neither for nor against, or are you opposition? Okay. Come right up.
Senator Ingerson, Representative Meyer, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Health and Human Services. Thank you for the opportunity to provide information in opposition to LD 555, an act to create a separate Department of Child and Family Services. What I'm passing out to you is our letter directly from Commissioner Sarah Gagne Holmes. But to make sure that the department was here, we wanted to read our letter to you, which is what I'll be doing now. And I am Abby Stivers, Director of Government Relations. I can't remember if I said that word. So this bill would consolidate multiple functions within state government where work relates to children and families into a standalone Department of Child and Family Services. This new department would have oversight over child welfare, Head Start, and child care, maternal and child health, including home visiting, parentage establishment and child support enforcement, residential and long-term care for children with disabilities, services for children with special health care needs, services for children with developmental disabilities, and activities to transition children from youth to adult services. LD 555 would also transfer all associated financial resources, rules, contracts, agreements, compacts, records, property, equipment, and employees to the new department. DHHS is unaware of evidence that a separate Department of Child and Family Services is in the best interest of the children and families of Maine. Across the department, significant resources and effort have been invested into eliminating barriers and silos to ensure cross-system collaboration. This bill would undermine those efforts by creating new and additional silos. Creating a separate department would require significant additional resources while providing less cohesive support to children and families. Here are just a few examples where the services for children and families benefit from connection and close collaboration to other services within DHHS. MaineCare is a key partner in addressing the needs of children involved in the behavioral health system, as well as partnering with child welfare to ensure the needs of children and families involved with child welfare are adequately addressed. A prime example of this is the recent establishment of a MaineCare rate for comprehensive medical evaluations of children who enter the department's care. This service was previously provided without the benefit of Medicaid funding via contracts held by OCFS. The establishment of a rate for this service in MaineCare has better formalized the process and ensures access for providers to a consistent funding source for these evaluations. The Children's Behavioral Health Team within the Office of Behavioral Health collaborates with the Office of Aging and Disability Services, which we call OADS, on the transition of youth with mental and behavioral health needs from children's services to adult services. Another example is that OCFS and OBH continue to work closely on efforts to address substance use, given the significant correlation of substance use and child welfare involvement. Over 50% of child removals in the last decade have involved parental substance use as a risk factor. The partnerships between OCFS and OBH has led to additional training opportunities for OCFS staff, the establishment of clinical staff with expertise in substance use as consultants for OCFS frontline staff, and support for the work of MaineCare to establish the Maine Mom program. Last example, the Office of Family Independence, OFI, plays a vital role for families involved with child welfare as they provide economic assistance to families. Nationally, there have been significant efforts to quantify the link between economic and concrete supports and reducing the risk of child welfare involvement. This has been well documented by Chapin Hall, among others, and we provide a link there. Maintaining Maine's child welfare agency within the same department as OFI is critical for the collaboration necessary to continue to advance policies and practices that maximize available economic supports and reduce the need for child welfare involvement wherever safely possible. LD 555 would also transfer responsibility for DHHS child and maternal health functions, including home visiting, from the Maine CDC and the Child Support Division from OFI to this new department. There is a strong public health focus in the work around child and maternal health, and it would be counterproductive to silo this work away from the Maine CDC in a separate department. The same is true for the work of the Division of Support Enforcement and Recovery, DSER, also known as child support. The work of DSER is heavily tied to OFI's focus as it relates to the economic support families need to thrive. Furthermore, the language of 42 U.S.C. 709, Section 509, requires that maternal and child health work be housed within the, quote, state health agency of each state. Moving child and maternal health out of the Maine CDC would directly contradict this requirement and risk the loss of federal funding to support this important work. In addition to concerns regarding reduced collaboration on shared issues within the Department of Health and Human Services, the establishment of a new department comes at a cost, requiring an investment of general fund dollars to establish roles to meet the overhead needs presently met within DHHS's infrastructure, financial service center, buildings and office space, technology needs, and more. Spending additional resources on expanding bureaucratic systems is counterproductive to our shared goal of improving supports for families and children. Building out a new department would have a significant negative impact on the system improvement work being done within the department and OCFS to strengthen the workforce, ensure a breadth of community services and supports to meet the needs of children and families involved with or at risk of involvement with child welfare, and establish collaborative relationships with community providers to focus on preventing the need for child welfare involvement with families whenever possible. We urge you to vote not to pass on LD 555 and instead continue to focus time and attention on system improvement efforts currently underway, including continuing to strengthen the partnerships that are vitally important to ensure the well-being of all Maine children and families.
Thank you, Ms. Stivers, for your testimony. Do we have any questions for the department at this time? Seeing none. For the testimony, NFNA. Do we have any more testimony in opposition? Testimony neither for nor against.
Good afternoon, Senator Ingerson, Representative Myers, and distinguished members of the Department of the Health and Human Service Committee. First one. All right, awesome. I'm here to testify neither for nor against. It was tough. I thought about testifying in favor for this bill. I remember about a year ago sitting in this room with the Blue Ribbon Commission and saying I wasn't in favor. But I thought at that time I did not believe that separating children's responsibilities into a distinct department was necessary. I'm not sure that's true. I'm not sure it's not true. I'm on the fence. And I'd like to share some facts. A comparison of the 1994 and 2024 kids count data shows that Maine has made meaningful progress in ensuring that children have health insurance. In 1994, 8.7% didn't. In 2024, 4.3% didn't. This progress did not occur by chance. It reflects deliberate policy decisions, including expanding eligibility to MaineCare. In 1994, only 27.5% of Maine children were covered by MaineCare. Today, that figure is 53%. And I can guarantee you that more than 53% of our, if it's 53%, and that's what we know, more than 53% of children go through DHHS. Federal law is explicit about early periodic screening, diagnosis, and treatment. It's the agreement. If you take Medicaid dollars, you provide EPSDT, early screening, periodic, diagnosis, treatment. All right. So that they get what they need. It's the agreement for Medicaid dollars. But despite that, Maine lacks a thoughtful, coherent, coordinated approach to ensure appropriate care for children. In fact, children's health policy within MaineCare has become increasingly fragmented. The only staff person dedicated to children's policy, the EPSDT coordinator, was recently removed and reassigned to be under prior authorization. The only dedicated children's MaineCare position responsible for coordinated policy care and communication across education, community, and health was moved under provider relations. So despite the fact that more than half of Maine's children now rely on MaineCare, there is no position within MaineCare policy dedicated exclusively to children's health. That's serious. There's a lot in here. I go through the data about early childhood behavioral health, Office of Child Family Services, children with medical complexities, and children and youth with special health care. I did a big deep dive, but I'm out of time. So I'm going to ask you to read this, but I will end one last statement. All right. So the reason I'm not for this is if we just move it into another department, then you have different letterhead. We have to have a cohesive and coordinated plan to be able to, what should the strategic plan for children be? That must be done first, whatever we do. Without that structure, accountability is weakened, and children's health policy cannot be effectively developed, monitored, or improved. I know. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate it. I've been here on this committee for 3 years, and this issue has been brought up before. This bill has been brought up before. In your experience, your long experience, have you seen OCFS make changes to address some of the significant issues that have been brought up today?
I have seen OCFS make changes and make efforts. The issue that I'm having is that the department is still extremely fragmented. So even recently, there is a child that's sitting in an emergency room and that crosses issues around behavioral health and medical health and child welfare. And there is no really good way still for that child's needs to get met. We need some policy decisions around our children, and that needs a plan. So even though things are being made, I know that they've made an effort of saying, well, what would the structure of that look like? Great. We need a plan. We need to do things in thoughtful ways. And it's not that people aren't thoughtful. It's just they are continuing trying to solve the problem at hand, as opposed to saying, how are we going to care and make sure that all the services and all the children are covered?
Further questions? Seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Further testimony, neither for nor against.
Good afternoon, Senator Ingwerson, Representative Meyer, and their honorable members of the Committee on Health and Human Services. It is an honor to be back in front of you all this session. My name is Adam Bloom-Pikopoulos, and I'm proud to serve as the Executive Director of the Alliance for Addiction and Mental Health Services, Maine. The Alliance is a statewide association representing 34 of Maine's community behavioral health providers who serve over 120,000 children, adults, and families annually. On behalf of the Alliance, I'm here today to speak in an informational capacity, neither for nor against LD 555. This bill, as proposed, would establish the creation of a new department by reorganizing functions already housed and operated under DHHS. Community-based behavioral health providers recognize the importance of strong, coordinated state leadership across child welfare, children's behavioral health, and family services. At the same time, we also recognize that our current system is not doing enough to support Maine children and families, as evidenced by the U.S. Department of Justice's recent lawsuit and subsequent settlement agreement with the state on children's behavioral health. While it is clear that DHHS and the community partners, providers, and families it works with are in dire need of additional resources to meet the needs of our children, reorganizing existing offices and creating additional silos between key systems will likely not help achieve the outcomes we all want to see come to fruition. Many of our members partner directly with DHHS staff across OCFS, OBH, Office of Maine Care Services, as well as the juvenile justice system and the education systems to support children with complex needs. Any structural change to governance has potential implications for service coordination, effective cross-system communication, and continuity of care. From the provider perspective, a key consideration to consider is how a new department would interface with the behavioral health system, including children's mental health services and substance use disorder treatment. Providers rely on clear lines of authority, consistent policy direction, and coordinated oversight across systems that often serves the same children and families simultaneously. It's essential that we don't add additional layers of complexity and fragmentation to an already fragile system. Another important consideration is implementation. Particularly at a time when the state is introducing several new rules and policies in accordance with the DOJ settlement agreement that directly impact children's behavioral health services and child welfare programs, siloing off systems may lead to disruptions and delays in implementation of the very agreement meant to provide relief to children and families and better support providers. The Alliance recognizes the hard work and partnership with providers in leadership from staff at OCFS and OBH that they undertake daily to support Maine children and families. We also recognize this legislation's intent to improve our system of care, and we stand ready to serve as a resource as you consider this and other bills this session to address child welfare and behavioral health issues. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony this afternoon and be happy to answer any questions from the committee.
Any questions for Adam? Good job, Adam. I just want to mention something I noticed, and I don't know if you can speak to this or not, but you came up with some pretty compelling reasons why we shouldn't be siloing off child and family services. Do you have any reasons to think that it would be a good idea and be able to facilitate what you think is needed within the department?
I think there is some change absolutely needed, and I think whether that is a matter of resources or programs, I think there's merit and we need to do something to address the crisis at hand now. I think our testimony today was really trying to understand that this might not be the best way to do it, but that is to not say that there isn't things that need to be done.
Thank you. Thanks so much for your testimony.
Thank you all.
For the testimony, neither for nor against.
I'm rusty on my 3-minute clock, Senator Moore. I'm going to do my best. Senator Ingwersen, Representative Meyer, members of the committee, my name is Melissa Hackett. I'm a policy associate at the Maine Children's Alliance and the coordinator for the Maine Child Welfare Action Network. I'm here to testify today neither for nor against, though I think you'll hear that my concerns currently outnumber my support for this legislation. Overall, we support considering the optimal structure for the delivery of services for children, youth, and families. We've made recommendations to that effect recently and even included legislation to create a commission to study DHHS in the 131st. Some other states have done intentional work to restructure services to improve outcomes for children and families. We support that attention and resources to ensure that services are optimally structured. With that said, we have concerns about this legislation as a vehicle to achieve that. First, this is prescriptive restructuring with possible unintended consequences, like creating departmental silos between Medicaid and some services for children and families that could be a vital funding source. We would support a more process-driven approach, something like a task force or the Blue Ribbon Commission that studied DHHS during the 131st. I would note that that commission chose not to make a recommendation regarding a new department. There's also the question of timing and feasibility. We have real concerns about advancing such significant changes to the structure of such a large and important department at a time when the federal government is pushing fiscal and logistical challenges to our state that will require significant attention and resources, particularly for Medicaid and SNAP, which are housed in DHHS. Any discussion should also include a consideration of services that may be housed currently in other departments, like juvenile justice and corrections, and other early care programs and education. Finally, I want to emphasize that a new department is not a silver bullet solution to child welfare. While there are 8 different services that are referenced in this legislation, the testimony today clearly indicates that this is about child welfare. I also would really encourage the committee to look at the child fatality data dashboard, which has been referenced here today. That data includes accidental deaths. And so I think it's important to emphasize that here, to really look at the nuances of that data. I really appreciate the work that this committee has done to consider supports and services for children and families and how to optimize the delivery of those services. We have concerns about this particular bill and the timing of it as a feasible policy solution to address current real challenges to child and family well-being and the role of government in supporting that. Rather than restructuring right now and resourcing that when the current system is already under stress and which would take time for children and families to experience possible benefits from, we would recommend the legislature focus resources on sustaining and ideally enhancing the state-funded array of services children and families depend on for their well-being. And I've listed those here. We don't have to wonder if these things will help children and families. We know from the research and evidence that they do. It's the best bang for our buck right now, and it's what's most critical to meet the urgent needs of children and families in our state. Thank you, and I take any questions.
Thank you, Melissa, for your testimony. Do you have any questions? Sam, Representative
Thanks,
Zager.
Senator. Really appreciate you being here again, provide your expertise and years of experience. Your testimony and indicates that there's potential pros and cons. Obviously, some states have chosen to go one direction and others another. Is there, if there is any research that shows, if any particular model yields better outcomes that you could share with us between now and the work session, I'd appreciate it. It's possible that there's some retrospective studies with 20, 30 years of contemporary data and enough variability among states that there might be a pattern, or maybe there's no difference. Either conclusion would be useful.
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Representative. I have not seen any research to that effect. I think others spoke to that today, that there are states that have undertaken to do this for various reasons. But I have not seen any research that shows that improves outcomes for kids and families related to child fatalities or child welfare or other supports and services. Some of that may be a result of how recent those changes have been made. I will say I was on a call with some folks in Alaska yesterday who were talking about the time it takes to create this restructuring, and just really want to emphasize to folks that the thoughtfulness that needs to go into doing that, so we understand possible unintended consequences of separating things and reorganizing in different ways. And I think in a time when the system is already strained, is less optimal to then also be tweaking and moving things apart. But I'd be happy to look around. We supported legislation several sessions ago that modeled what Washington State had done. I don't remember seeing any immediate outcomes data that they had, but I'm happy to go ahead and take a look at that and share with the committee whatever I can find.
Appreciate it, Ms. Hackett.
Yeah.
Representative Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Melissa, for all that you do for our kids. And we really appreciate your input. It's the same question that I asked Ms. Cronin is, are we seeing improvements? Are we seeing efforts by OCFS to address some of the issues that have been brought up and over the past several years? Do you feel in your capacity with Maine Children's Alliance, are you seeing OCFS listening and trying to make changes?
I appreciate the question, Representative, and I will try to be brief in my response. I think the committee will hear more about this on Thursday at the Child Welfare Quarterly. OCFS has a strategic plan that a lot of time and effort went into developing that includes both services related to childcare and licensing and child welfare that reflects a consideration of around 200 recommendations that have been made in recent years. And I think there is an urgency. People want to see the change immediately, and thoughtful implementation of changes takes time. I also would say that I think you all know from the time that I stand in front of this committee, I am always remiss if we are only looking at child welfare. We need to ask the question about why so many children are unsafe. And that cuts across behavioral health and healthcare and food and housing. And the narrowness of our conversation doesn't then allow us to really have a comprehensive approach to preventing the need for child welfare intervention, taking the strain off that agency so they can really focus on working with families that are very complex, where circumstances are really challenging, and we can really spread out the responsibility to other agencies and community partners to better and sooner support families.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further testimony, neither for nor against? Seeing none, no further testimony. Does the committee have any questions or suggestions? Oh, I don't think so. We have one more?
One on Zoom, neither for nor against.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I believe that's Anthony Bailey.
Testimony from him too.
You say his testimony's in there?
Yeah, we have two things from him.
Hi, Anthony.
This is Anthony. I wanted to have, we recommend that Child and Family Services would be for special needs, adult children that cannot take care of themselves, that need their families. And some of them can't take care of themselves to where they are mentally not their age. So I think maybe just a amendment, a draft and a new order of the bill to make Child and Family Services for special needs adult children that cannot take care of themselves, that are need to be reunited with their families, because Adult Protective Services don't do that. And I don't think there should be any Adult Protective Services if they still have parents that are still alive. My father always wanted me to be reunited with him if I ever get taken away, or me being placed in children's care or with the child welfare. So the best interest of child, recreating the whole Child and Family Services to allowing them to support developmental disabled adult children and taking custody of them, or another way of petitioning the court for parental rights and giving the parental rights to parents, to help parents get their parental rights also over special needs adult children that cannot take care of themselves. And I think making an amendment or add-on to this bill is highly recommended, because I'm mentally a child, and as experts, my doctors, many psychologists have said I was mentally a child, to where that I still act like a kid, and I still need support from Child and Family Services. And I'm against it just being for children. I think it should be also for special needs adult children that cannot take care of themselves, that we make all in one. Just to make all in one, no more Adult Protective Services, just Child and Family Services all in one.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I appreciate, you guys have any questions about it?
Any questions for Anthony, anybody? There's no questions from the committee, but I thank you so much for your testimony today, Anthony. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Bye.
Take care. That's it for Zoom? Okay. No more in the room testimony? Any requests from the analysts for information? Representative Graham?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I would like to unearth the Blue Ribbon Commission report from the 131st legislature
To this.
Yeah.
for review.
Yes, go ahead.
And
Representative
I think
Meyer.
it was asked by Representative Zager to Ms. Hackett, and I would like to see any comparative analysis in those states that have who have done where similar work has been done to silo the department. I would like to see the analysis of pre and post outcomes for children and families. And perhaps a little bit of context around when those initiatives were undertaken in those states that were listed in Senator Timberlake's testimony. How long have we had that handful of states that have moved in this direction? How long have we had those separate departments established? And do we have any comparative analysis pre or post on them?
And I would like any data, this may be just doubling up on what maybe is already going to happen on Thursday, but any recent granular data on child death. That would be great to have. Bring this committee to a close.